Dancy remix, page 444.
Welcome back to Take 404, more psychedelic vinyl from my collection. In the background you will hear the mighty Nevermind, better than the Nirvana album in my opinion. Absolutely fantastic record by somebody called Damin E. A.L.K. and Brother Clark. So it is a trio, or duo at least. This was a private press, originally came out in 1973 on Demelot Records, which was a private press. I think they're from, let me see, I think they're from Ohio originally. Not 100% sure about that. Yeah, it's just a fantastic record. It's a kind of late night fuzz and folky stuff, and it's slightly sinister. It reminds me of Bob Trimble and Bob Smith's Visit, that kind of vibe. The originals are sort of $4,000 now, I think. Very expensive, very hard to get. But it's been reissued lots of times. Definitely pick this one up if you're not aware of it, because it's fantastic. As you'll probably hear in the background through this video, it goes through all sorts of stages, and it's very varied, but it's just slightly weird throughout. Like I say, it's slightly sinister. His voice is slightly sinister, which I quite like. It's very gentle in parts, full-on heavy fuzz, as you just heard in the background there for some tracks. A little bit of spoken poetry as well. It's all in here. Never mind. Pick it up if you can find it. Next up, we're going to go back to the, I like to mix it up a bit. We'd like to show something from the 80s, a band who don't get any love at all. I don't think I've ever seen them mentioned by anybody. Dementia 13. They are a band from, no, they're from Ohio. So I think they're released about 5 albums. I've only got the first 2. This is called Nevermind, and came out of limited edition, I think, in this mirrored sleeve. I think about 2,000, 2 or 3,000, on Midnight Records, which was Midnight International Records, which is from New York, I believe. So that's the label on good old black vinyl. Yeah, so this is their first album, Nevermind. As I say, it's a fantastic cover, and the back is even better. Very trippy. It's kind of Syd Barrett, Soft Boys, fuzz tones, Chesterfield Kings, all that kind of thing. As was very popular in the late 80s, English and American bands aping Barrett and sort of garage psych. And this is one of the best. His voice probably lets it down, if anything. The guy who's singing, I can't hardly read any of the credits on the back, so I'm not even going to attempt to find out who they are, because the writing's so spidery. But it's a fabulous sleeve, and obviously was the reason I picked it up in the first place, because I'd never heard of them. But yeah, I think they did, like I say, 5 albums. I've got the first 2, Nevermind, and then Disturb the Air. This is the second one. This is probably slightly better of the 2. It's produced by Glenn Race, who was in Plastic Land, and it has that feel. But it's also got, there's a lead guitar by John Fallon from The Steps. I'll get to The Steps when I get to S sometime midway through this century, I think. The Steps were a fantastic band. I saw them 2 or 3 times, and they were really awesome live. But this is John Fallon from The Steps plays on this, and it's much better produced. The singing is better, vocals are better. But I just love that sleeve. That's fantastic. One of the best sleeves from the 80s. So that Nevermind came out in 87. I think this came out in 89, something like that. Yeah, 89, also on Midnight Records. Dementia 13, then named after a Francis Ford Coppola film. It's one of his first films, I think. Next up is one you should all know if you're into psych and pop-psych and all of the rest. This is the fantastic Del Shannon, Further Adventures of Charles Westover. If you're not aware of this record, you'll be scratching your head thinking, why has he picked up an album by Del Shannon? Well, because it's fantastic. Del Shannon, as many artists were in the late 60s, after about 66, when things started changing and going a little bit weird around the edges, and people were getting a bit hairier, a lot of the old rockers started producing, and some of the kind of mainstream middle of the road artists started producing stuff that they thought would sell to the kids, because they realized the kids were buying other stuff, and a lot of them put out some weird records, and one of the best, in my opinion, is this one, The Further Adventures of Charles Westover, as I say. Out on Liberty in 1968. It's absolutely awesome, almost throughout. It's pretty hard to find now. I got this 10, 15 years ago. Unfortunately, it's got some writing on the sleeve, but otherwise it's in really good nick. It's got a fantastic track on here called Silver Birch. If you want to check out what the album sounds like, try Silver Birch by Del Shannon, and you'll realise how good a pop-psych album this is. Del Shannon's real name was Charles Westover, and these really are the further adventures of him. I don't think it sold any quantities at all. It took him another 10 years before he released another studio album. Of course, nothing else he ever did compares in the pop-psych realm like this one. This is an absolute gem. Del Shannon. Next up we have somebody from England from, I think this is from 69, 68. Bob Downs, Deep Down Heavy. I picked it up because of the cool sleeve, of course. It is on Music for Pleasure. You are not seeing things. This is Music for Pleasure. This is a UK label that is associated with very cheap crap albums that you can see on the inner sleeve here. So they've got Gracie Fields and Morecambe and Wise, Russ Conway, that kind of thing. If you come from the UK and you're of a certain age, you'll be very familiar with Music for Pleasure. The records were everywhere. Very budget label, but they produced this absolute whacked out psychedelic jazz album. Bob Downs was he was a saxophone player and a flautist as well. And this has also got Chris Spedding on guitar. One of his first appearances, I should imagine. It's really odd, quite funky, and quite out there. Definitely worth checking out if you see it. I got this very, very cheap. I think this probably cost me under £1 or about £1, something like that, from Oxfam years ago. But it's definitely worth checking out. It sounds kind of more like something from the Canterbury scene. That is the sleeve close up. It sounds like something from the Canterbury scene, sort of jazzy, psychedelic, slightly funky. So yeah, next up I've just got something I'm just going to run through very quickly. As I do with most of the big artists, like when I did the Beatles and Dylan and stuff, I'm not going to go through all their stuff because everybody knows them, they've been done to death. But I'm going to show, next up on my list is the Doors. So everybody knows the Doors, they're most of our albums are essential. I don't have so these are my copies. The first album, Strange Days, Waiting for the Sun. They're all excellent, essential psych records. Then I don't have Soft Parade or Morrison Hotel. I don't have either of those. I don't know why, but I just never got around to getting them. And LA Woman, which is at times probably my favourite Doors album, but they're all the ones that I've got are definitely worth. They're absolutely essential. The first one's a proper psychedelic classic. They're quite out of favour at the moment. They're just not a fashionable band. They were quite fashionable around in the sort of 80s, early 80s, but they're definitely not fashionable now. You don't see them mentioned a lot. People don't seem to be influenced by them. But another thing I picked up a couple of years ago, Record Store Day, which is their first recordings, May 1966. This is a live 10-inch at the London Fog, which is a nightclub, I think, in Venice Beach, Los Angeles. This is mostly, so that's the label. So it's mostly kind of R&B covers, blues covers. I mean, they're quite competent. They do a great version of Strange Days on here, which is really the reason I got it. So it's from May 1966. So it's a good year before their first album came out. It's just worth picking up if you're kind of interested in the whole history of the psychedelic scene in America and the UK. But yeah, London Fog live in 1966 May. That's about it for today. There'll be some more soon. I'll keep them quite short because I'm sure people have got other things to do rather than watch me drone on about my precious record collection. But that's it. I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye.